Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 240 of Screw the Commute podcast. We're here with Warren Carlyle, and he is one of the most brilliant people I know. When Warren tells me to do something, I just do it because I know he's thought it out 100 times more than I would have. And I'm going to introduce him to you in a minute. I hope you didn't miss episode 239, Nahaku McFadden. She is a retired Army colonel, and she's also a messenger marketing and chatbot expert, but she's also on the board of Vetoga, a nonprofit organization helping veterans. So she had a lot of cool insights on episode 239. And I hope you didn't miss grabbing a copy of my automation ebook as a thank you for listening to Screw the Commute. It's a $27 ebook, but it's yours free for listening in. And it's a book that's helped me handle up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. And we actually did some figures. This is no exaggeration, and this was, I think, 2 years ago when we estimated these figures. It saved me 7.5 million keystrokes. Okay, just one of the tips in this book. So you want to check it out at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. And everything we talk about, including stuff for Warren, you can go to episode 240, and the way you do that is you put screwthecommute.com and then / the episode number, /240. And while you're over there, you may as well grab a copy of our podcast app. I mean, everybody gives you an app, but they never tell you how to use it. Well, that's not how we roll. We've got a complete screen captures, and we're actually just making a complete video, screen capture video for you to show you how to use all the fancy functions so you can take us with you on the road. And you can find that at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. Now, our sponsor is the Great Internet Marketing Retreat and Joint Venture Program, where myself and my staff work with you for a year to either get you started in an internet business or to use the internet to take your existing business to the next level. You can check that out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. Of course, that'll be in the show notes also. But I got to tell you, it's the longest running, most successful, most unique mentor program in the field of internet marketing. And I triple dog dare you to put anything up against it. There's so many unique features. You get an immersion weekend at the retreat center where you actually live in this estate mansion here with to see all the stuff, and the whole crew is here helping you. And you come back and we have shoot video of you in our TV studio next door. So all kinds of great. And you have one-on-one access to myself and the entire crew of people that work for me. So it's like I said, it's the most powerful, most successful ever. And another thing is, I'll tell you later about a very unique thing a little bit later. All right, let's get to the main event. Warren Carlyle is a community building strategist who partners with purpose-driven brands and influencers to build highly engaged communities online. He's founder and CEO of Octonation. All right, it's the largest octopus fan club. It's a nonprofit organization that inspires conservation of the ocean by teaching the world about octopuses. I thought it was octopi, but I guess it's octopuses. He would know. Now, he's been featured and gotten the attention of celebrities and global organizations such as Michael B. Jordan, Ellen DeGeneres, Joe Rogan, and even the Facebook headquarters talked to Warren about his expertise, and lots more than that. And Warren advocates the building of fanatical online communities as the lifeblood of brands' relevancy in today's crowded digital marketplace. Warren, are you ready to screw the commute?
Yes, I am. Let's do this, Tom.
All right. Good talking to you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah. We talk about dogs, but I love talking about community more.
Yeah. A community of dogs we could talk about.
We could.
So tell everybody what you're doing with this community building stuff.
So community building to me And I mentioned, a lot of brands right now, they're kind of scrambling around. They want to build community, and they want to find people who can build community, because having the attention span of your followers is really important. And if you go to your social media accounts and you look, what people want to see is that you have tons of comments and tons of engagement on your posts. And so with community building, and what I do is I make sure that your engagement rates are high, and that that people are following you for the right reasons. So that means choosing a niche to go into and developing a fanatical community within that space, and then going from there. So I mean, that's really what community building is all about.
Yeah, and you've done that with Octonation, and I tease about it lots of times. We're like, how do you monetize that? But you've been able to monetize that with a lot of different ways, right?
Yeah. So when you have like a fanatical community or a highly engaged community, it means that when you go to post something, the majority of your community members are seeing it. And so tons of people are just like, well, how would you monetize this or that? And it really is simple, if you have a given niche, because when you go to post and you have a highly engaged community, they're going to want what you have because they understand why they're there. So if I go to work with an artist, and we say we do a 50-50 split on whatever they sell, then we're actually moving 100 to 200 prints. If somebody wants to sponsor us
Okay, but
for a
this wouldn't be just an artist that's painting flowers, right?
Yeah, no, it would have to make sense for the community. So yeah, there's tons of people who reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, I sell a watch." I'm like, "Does the watch have an octopus on it?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Well, then it's probably not a fit." So you always want to make sure that
Well, they could
you're not
sell
just
8 watches,
yeah.
right?
But you always want to make sure that there's a fit, and I go over that too. Like respecting, my whole thing with community building is that you want to respect the attention span and the reason why somebody follows your account. And so never would I ever randomly just one day say, we're gonna sell this self-improvement book because this guy gave me $500 to post in this group, unless that self-improvement book had like a cover of somebody with octopus arms, and they were like doing all of the things, and
Uh-huh.
there was like heavy motifs in the book that were octopus related. Like that would make sense. So yeah.
So
But
what?
it's not just that, it's also I have my own shirts, I have my own products that I sell. We have an Amazon influencer store that has every single octopus book, coloring book, piece of furniture. So we
Pillows
have
and everything else.
pillows, yeah. So we have that. So I mean, there's once you have the attention span, and you're deserving of someone's attention by the content that you post on a daily basis, then it's not as hard to sell to that audience. It's when you don't, and you have a very broad market segment, and you're trying to do all the things, that it's unclear as to why you're promoting stuff.
Well, but even if some big sponsor came to you, you would get them to twist their promotion to your crowd or something?
Yeah. So when you have a community, and say a sponsor or say a brand wants to work with you, um, I wouldn't take their existing marketing material and sell their product. I'd say, hey, if you're interested, let's make this a win-win. And how about, if say it's a golf club with a like one of those protections, what do they call it, Tom?
And the little socks that go over the
Like
top
the
of your,
socks. Say
yeah,
say there a golf company wanted to do that.
that's a great
I would say
idea.
I'd say, you know what? I was like, I'm really envisioning, like, for our members, a video where maybe somebody's wearing an octopus costume and they're hitting a golf ball, and then the octopus turns to the camera and shows them the sock or whatever, and then covers up the golf club. Like that makes more sense because our
Right.
community is fun, it's informative, it's easy to understand. I wouldn't just publish, a picture of a golf sock and be like, hey guys, buy it.
Right. Right.
So I'd ask them, let's have fun with this, and let's get the majority of people on board, and playing with your brand, so that we can increase the amount of people that buy. So
All right. Now you
that's
have hundreds of thousands of people on this, which is just crazy, crazy, crazy. But you've helped other people that didn't have such massive numbers, right?
yeah. And so there was to give you an example, there was a woman that came to me. I was at a conference speaking about community building, And she walked up to me and she was like, I feel like I'm so close. I'm a life coach and I work with people who have chronic pain and or who just feel like they're in pain. And I said, okay, tell me more about your background. And, come to find out, she suffered chronic debilitating migraines ever since she was 2. And the reason she actually got into what she was doing was because at a young age, a male doctor told her that was just all in her head and that she was just, attention seeking, and told her parents, she's fine. Don't worry about her. And
Oh
so
yeah, it
when
was
she,
in her head. It was a damn
yeah,
migraine.
well, it was exactly in her head.
You got that right.
So she didn't really know until later on. She went to a doctor again, and they said, you have a really bad form of chronic debilitating migraine. And you'll have to mitigate it your whole entire life. And so she ended up getting her PhD. And so I said, okay, well, that's it. Have you considered working with women who suffer chronic debilitating migraine? And she was like, that's exactly what I want to do. And I said, great. So we made her and we
So she was
crafted her.
trying to do every kind of pain, even emotional pain and physical
Yeah.
pain and all of it, right?
Yeah. And the way Facebook and the way a lot of algorithms work is every single time you go to post, Facebook wants to know that you are creating content that applies and is tailored to 100% of your community. And the more deep, meaningful connections, and that's a part of like one of Facebook's mission statements, the deeper you can go and the more meaningful connections that you can have with your community, and the more they understand that you are for them, Facebook loves to distribute your content to those people. When you start going out and being about, fibromyalgia and then chronic debilitating migraine and then maybe like a lupus and whatever, it's impossible to give information. And then you're asking your community members to reframe the information that you give them to their specific illness. It just gets really messy,
That's
right?
too much work for them. They're gonna
Too much messy.
yeah.
So we decided with her that she was going to help businesswomen who suffered chronic debilitating migraine, and that she was going to help them get more done throughout the day, because businesswomen were saying, I'm a high performer. I want to get more stuff done, but I just have this thing that happens to me that it just impairs my functioning. And so she helps them mitigate that. And so what we did when we had that niche is we got into authority building, which is something I can talk about later, which is we were like, okay, how do we reverse engineer the attention span of somebody who self-identifies as having chronic debilitating migraine and is a businesswoman? And so I did the research with her, and we saw that there was the Association of Migraine Disorders, there was the National Headache Foundation, there were brands of sunglasses that catered to women that had the protective shield on it. And I said, we need to get in contact with them and let them know that you're available as an expert on this given topic, and see how you guys can play together, see what opportunities they have for you to speak to that audience so that you can help them with tools, tips, and resources for those women. And so she ended up becoming the scientific liaison of the Association of Migraine Disorders. She runs a podcast called Heads Up with the founder of the National Headache Foundation. And she's been featured as a speaker.
That's
in a lot of
that's
places.
very interesting, because most people, if they got a headache, their head is down, and they're holding their forehead. But she's turned that around. Awesome. Yeah.
But she is running. She's running, and she's running in a specific direction, and everyone knows how to follow her, because they know that if they are a businesswoman who suffers chronic debilitating migraine, that she's unequivocally for them.
And she didn't have to have 400,000
no, she
followers,
has,
right?
and actually, to tell you the truth, Tom, she had a migraine. I remember when we were discussing the branding and the name behind
Yeah.
it, and she said, "Why don't we just call it Migraine Nation?" And I was like, "You mean like Octonation, like my brand?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I don't want to think about it. Let's just call it Migraine Nation." I was like, "Okay, whatever." And so we ended up calling it that, and she's grown it. She had 100, then she had 200, then she spoke on stage, then she got like 600. And then she's up to like over 1,000 followers now in her Migraine Nation group, and it's heavily targeted, and everybody knows why they're there. They have chronic debilitating
I'll
migraine.
bet they respond when she says something. Yeah.
They got chronic debilitating every single time she has a topic. It caters directly to them. So I mean, it's a highly engaged group.
I think I'm thinking of another possible niche here. See, you say niche because you're a high class guy. Us country bumpkins say niche, but I'm thinking I got a big head, so maybe I should do migraines for octopus.
Well, an octopus,
Do they
their
have
mental.
headaches?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, you should put a poll out and say and ask, do you think octopuses
Hmm.
have my headaches?
I know that their body contains all of their organs. They're basically like a bag with organs and arms. So I mean, that's it.
Well, that's the same as me. I'd be perfect for them.
Hashtag relatable.
So now there's some terms that I'm not sure myself or most of the people listening to this totally understand. So you're a community building expert,
Hmm.
but you also talk about authority, and
Hmm.
then you have the term influencers. How do they all interact and work together? What do they mean?
So community building, I would say that encompasses the process of what it takes to build a community. One of those things is with community building, you have to have a clear set of core values. Um, I guess I should backtrack. The first thing that you should have is clarity. So, who is your community for and what are you talking about? What is the topic? And it can't be vague or broad.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a woman that I worked with who said she works with all bloggers and she helps all bloggers monetize. And I said,
Mm.
unfortunately, you're going to have to reframe all of your information, whether it's a home decor blogger, if it's a food blogger, if it's a blogger that blogs about taxidermy. Like the fact of the matter is you're not an expert on all of those industries, and you shouldn't have to be. And so she ended up. I went to her feed, and I saw she posts about houses a lot. She posts about the interior of homes, and she
Mm-hmm.
works with people who are in home decor. So she shows that she's going to help moms who are in the home decor lifestyle niche on how to monetize their blog.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, great, I get that. That's clear. I can refer you to people that I know that are in that space. So we get clear with that. That's community building. And then we get into core values, like, what's the tone of the brand, who is your community for? If you're somebody that likes to cuss, then that has to be in your core
Right,
values, that
right.
you should have a language, thing. Because you want to attract, at the end of the day, people that follow you because you're very upfront with who you are and what you like and how you go about doing things.
And they relate to
um,
you. Yeah.
yeah, and they relate. And then you get into the content, and I always tell people that your content has to drive your core values. Every single time you go to post, I should be able to tell what a core value of your brand is by reading what you're talking about. And so your core values serve to strengthen your content. And so when you get into community building, it's like it encompasses all of those varying aspects. And then you mentioned authority building. And authority building is really positioning your community in the marketplace so that there's legitimacy behind your community. To give you an example with Octonation, the how I positioned Octonation as the authority in the marketplace was that I started working with um, individuals like a New York Times bestselling author of Soul of an Octopus, a world-renowned underwater photographer, researchers and scientists that were known in their field. And because I curated information from them and had conversations with them, it positioned Octonation as not just an octopus fan club, but as the authority for anything octopus related by virtue of who we were doing content
Mm-hmm.
with, right? And so that's authority building, is really figuring out who do people in your niche look up to, and are you making a concerted, intentional effort on positioning your brand next to them? So if you were at a dog page, Tom, and it was like, say it was all about German Shepherds, you're most likely going to want to try to figure out, how do I get a conversation with like Caesar Milan, or how do I get a
Mm-hmm.
conversation with, the people that make sense for your brand? Like, what's really
Right.
going to position that page as an authority figure? And then you mentioned influencer, and influencer to me is anybody that influences somebody's decisions. If you look at a business in a business sense, an influencer is somebody who influences somebody else's buying decisions. Um, and then there's two different types of influencers, I would say. Is one, if you work with an influencer, say that has a large following, and you're looking to make money off of them, that means that you're going to want to find an influencer that has high engagement rates. Say they have a lot of followers. You want to make sure that they have clarity within their niche, meaning like if they are say they're a female who's 20 years old or let's say 25, and she's a swimsuit influencer. And you look at her, and that's pretty much what her page is about, her in different swimsuits or her talking about health and wellness, but she's in that space. Then you'd want to work with her. And if you were looking to monetize her, you'd want to look at her comment section to see, are there girls in that comments? What are their comments like? Are they saying, where did you buy that? If that means they have an audience that's primed to buy and that you could potentially make money off of that influencer. Another type of influencer for a brand is an influencer where they know how to work with that influencer and monetize off the back end with advertising. So not in every given instance are brands relying on influencers to drive revenue from their communities. Sometimes you have people that are looking for influencers to build authority within a given space so that on the back end, they can run ads to that audience.
I see.
And so it's two very different types of influencers. And you can't just make the assumption that if somebody has a lot of followers that you're going to make a ton of money off of them, because that's not the case. Sometimes influencers like, hey, what you do with the content that I make for you, that's up to you. I'm not promising that you're going to make money off of my audience. You're just using my likeness to advertise your product.
Well, sometimes I've seen where you can pay an influencer for a shout out, but how do you? Are you saying that to check them out, it's in plain sight? It's all about their comments.
Yeah, so I look at the comments to see how engaged those comments are. Like if there's comments where it's like nice photo with FOTO and there's like all these weird characters, that means that influencer is most likely buying their comments or is a part of like, some
fake.
Weird
Fake,
comment
anyway,
scheme. Yeah, it's fake. You want people that are saying that's awesome, or I have one from this brand, or like where did you get that? Or like more meaningful,
right?
Like buying signal comments.
All right. So
where did you get that?
How many comments? I know you can't give an exact figure, but like, what would be a ratio to number of followers to number of comments that's reasonable?
I would say 3 to 5% of the total followers commenting on the actual post or engaging with the post, meaning like the likes are there. I pay more attention to the comments than I do the actual likes, but
right.
3 to 5% is a pretty good organic, meaning they're not paying for ads or anything like that. That's a pretty good number to look at. Some people have more than that, but I would say you want at least over 3%.
3 to 5% of good comments. You just can't look at numbers in this. Yeah. So
and if they have 500,000 followers and 200 likes, then move past them. That means they're not clearly defined. They have a vanity profile, and it's just not going to work out well for you if you're looking to monetize from their followers. Right. Now, if you're an advertiser that is just like, I don't care, I'm going to use them as a model and I'm going to monetize their likeness on the back end with people that look like them, then go for it. Go for the goal.
That's a different angle.
Yeah.
Now I understand you turned Octonation into a nonprofit. Is that right?
Yes.
And what was the decision process in there?
A lot of times your community is going to inform your direction of, what you're doing, because your community will give you signals on kind of what they see your next level is or what they would want to engage with more. And so what I started realizing, my community kept saying, what can we do to support, Octonation? What can is there a place where we can donate? And I was just like, well, there's really not. But after a while, if you get 100, 200 comments, you better figure it out. Right.
Exactly.
So it's like, if people are wanting to give me money to do what I do, or to, build programs, like we've received thousands of dollars to develop our website, Octonation, because people kept telling me, is there a definitive website that is in existence that talks about octopuses in a fun and informative way, a comprehensive way, and that has really cool eye-catching images? And I said, no, there's not. And they're like, well, can you do that? I'm like, well, I guess I could. They're like, we will give you money for it. I'm like, okay, done.
Okay. Right, exactly.
Done. And so we did a fundraiser. We raised money for it. And now I have a CTO, or a chief technical officer, a webmaster, And I have a couple science writers that are really esteemed in what they do, like they cephalopod researchers, and they're writing the content, and then I'm going to have an editor look over it, and that's all because my community is paying for it because they wanted to see it.
How
So
much hassle was it to go to get the 5013C?
it actually wasn't a hassle at all, mainly because I worked with a woman who that's what she did, and so she filed everything. She made sure that it was under the right classes, and she even trademarked my group name. So she did all of that.
Oh, isn't that nice? Now, are you equating likes with comments? Does that
Co-
carry less weight?
yeah, likes carry less weight just because there's not really any. I mean, to me, I always like to see what are people saying. You know,
Mm-hmm.
how is that influencer connected to their audience? Like, if they have a lot of negativity in their comment section, and one of the core values of my brand is like no disempowering language, I'm not working with that influencer. If there's like some say there's a vegan influencer that's like toxic free, chemical free, anti this, anti that, and Octonation's core values is no disempowering language or showing massive pollution or having conversations around XYZ, then I don't care how many followers that influencer has, it's not a brand fit. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not. So I've had PETA reach out to me and want to do collaboration campaigns, and I go, sorry, you go against our fundamental core values. It just doesn't make sense from a brand point of view. So, I mean, they were doing something, and they can do whatever they do, and people have their methods for how they want to build communities. But I wanted to make sure that Octonation wasn't a disempowering brand that used shock value tactics
Mm-hmm.
to make people rally around behind my brand. I wanted people to be good people. I wanted them to be happy, informative, positive, and you can't do that by throwing paint on people and doing massive protests and screaming at the top of your lungs. It just doesn't work.
Well,
So
no, I'm not sure if I have my terminology right here, but don't octopus squirt paint on people?
ink,
Oh,
Tom.
that's the difference. Yeah.
And so it's more stories like her, that I've helped people come to me and they have this vision or this big dream of, I want to be, like this one company called the Unhide School out of Brazil. They wanted to be the premier like CGI school for students who are looking to learn how to do computer graphics. And they came to me and they're like, we want to be the world's best. And I said, well, let's focus on being the world's best for like Rio de Janeiro, and then we'll establish social proof in that area, and then we'll go global. I was just like, and I gave them the example of Facebook. Facebook did not start out as this global powerhouse. They started out being a tool for students that were going to Harvard to be able to get access to their teachers prior to going to school, to see who their teachers were, to see if there were other students in their class. That was the problem that Facebook solved in its infancy stage. It solved a very specific problem. And so a lot of times people look at Facebook and they're like, well, Facebook did it. I'm like, no, Facebook, and I'm just like, and you don't have the ad spend of Facebook, right? And you don't have the user, so there's a lot of times where people want to start their brand being like Nike or start
Right,
their
of
brand
course,
being
yeah.
Target. And I'm like, let's solve a specific problem for a group of people, and let's knock it out of the park, establish social proof, and then let's get broad. Like when you look at the For Dummies books, they didn't start out as like a whatever for dummies.
Every
It's
one
like
of them is
every one of them
super
is
targeted.
different, and it caters to a specific demo, like Instagram for Business for Dummies. They have two different books. They have Instagram for Business for Dummies and just Instagram for Dummies, because it's two different audiences. And
And
so
every topic under the sun has one. Instagram,
yes,
or I mean, not Instagram, but I mean, archery for dummies and
so I
knitting for
guess
dummies.
yeah, so I guess the easy way to tell this to your listeners is, what is your For Dummies book? I mean, I don't know if that's legal to,
No,
for me
well, you
to
could do a poll like that, but I mean,
yeah,
you
well,
can't advertise
yeah,
it.
I wouldn't sell that, but I mean, just like, and it's like, if you're just at home and you're thinking to yourself, what is that niche that you're truly going to own? What's the who and what's the what? And just to give them one more example, like there's if you're in like uh, service profession or anything like that. I knew an OBGYN. His name was Dr. Dreon Birch. And he actually got sued by Dr. Dre because he started calling himself Dr. Dre, and they're like, "Oh, it's marketplace confusion." Anyway, he won the battle.
Yeah, because it's
the doctor
completely
did.
different field.
Yeah. Anyway, so he created a group called Medical Moguls, and he helped doctors monetize their PhDs. And so when we're looking at his audience, I think there's like 2.5 million people in the United States that have a PhD. And so that's a pretty good audience range for him. And what he would do is if you're burnt out in the clinical setting, say you have a practice, a private practice, or say you're working in a hospital, he would help you create an online personal brand so you could diversify your revenue streams. And so that was his niche. And he has a multi-7-figure business doing that, but it's because he niched down to, I only want to help doctors who have their PhDs monetize them. And so start looking, when you're developing your community, what are these, niches that you want to knock out of the park?
Absolutely. Abby said, you're darn right, Warren. Did you hear her over there?
Yeah, Abby's
Yeah.
like, German Shepherd Nation,
Yeah.
German Shepherd Nation.
Yeah. So we got to take a brief sponsor break. When we come back, we're going to ask Warren what's a typical day look like for him and his brilliant mind. So, folks, back around the year 2000, I kind of turned the internet marketing world on its head because people at my level were charging like 50 or 100 grand up front to small businesses to teach them how to do all this stuff. And I thought, I'm a small business advocate. That's too much money. And a lot of the people I knew wouldn't come through anyway once they got their money. So I kind of turned everything on the head and made those gurus mad in that I charge an entry fee, which is way smaller, and then a percentage of profits that's capped, so you're not stuck with me forever. So for me to get my big money, you got to make way bigger money, and then eventually you take off on your own and we part company. So it's been the longest running, most successful internet marketing mentor program ever, starting around the year 1997. I formalized it with this retreat center in 2002. But it's been about 1,700 students, and of course, tens of thousands of people see me speak about this topic. So if you'd like to check that out, if you really want somebody and a whole staff of people that have been there, done that, helping you for a year, plus there's all kinds of interesting things. You come to the retreat center for an immersion weekend, and you come back to our TV studio, and there's all kinds of benefits that we throw in. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And of course, this is episode 240, where you'll find that and all of Warren's great stuff when we give you the info for that. So Warren, what's a typical day look like for you?
Typical day, it looks like for me, I check in with and it just depends on what kind of business I'm working on. But for Octonation, typical day for me is I check in with my admins to see kind of like, what happened over the night, because I have some admins that work in different countries.
Mm-hmm.
So because Octonation is a global organization, so we have tons of people in Australia, the UK. So, what happened?
Wow, speaking of Australia, a lot of rough stuff there lately with the fires.
Yeah.
Did you hear the figure that they said there was 500? Now, this is a low estimate, 500 million animal deaths. And this was 2 weeks ago when I heard that number. I was just floored. That's 500 million animals, got displaced, and their food and even if they lived from the fire, their food was all gone. So it was it was devastating.
And I just think, I think too, like, because I'm so connected to animals with Octonation, had there been cities where people were being burned, alive like that, something tells me they would have figured something out very quickly. Other countries would have stepped in, but I mean, just the fact that so many animals, lives have been gone, it's just like, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, and that was, I'm sure it's over 1 billion now, and it's still going on. And another helicopter just caused a spark and kicked off another fire. I mean, it's really, really bad. But I'm really devastated about that. So anyway, you get up and you check your
check my admins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then as of right now, we're developing octonation.com. So I have a CTO that I'm working with and a couple science writers. And
CTO is Chief Technical Officer, folks.
Yes,
in case you're
and
wondering.
he's also a web developer. He formerly created marinebio.org, And so he's really good with site architecture because of the various species and families and genuses. So he's like having a blast building it,
I
which
bet.
I couldn't be more
Yeah.
grateful for that. So make sure that they're on track with what they need for the day. And then getting into content, I typically still like to respond and get into comments just so I have a feel for the group and what's going on. And a lot of posts are scheduled, so those are going out. And then I kind of put Octonation to the side, and I depending on what client calls I have that day, I get on those calls and we talk about the various C's of building a fanatical community. So depending on where they're at in the community building process, maybe we'll spend a conversation talking about collaborations, like authority building, like, hey, what are we doing? Or you know,
So is this a group setting or one-on-one or what?
no, this is one-on-one.
This is with your
Um,
clients. Okay.
yeah, one-on-one. And and then I also, as of right now, I'm a coach for another course creator that is building fanatical or teaches people how to build communities on Facebook. And so I have calls with some of those students, some fast track coaching sessions. So pretty much my whole day is community building, which is I love, you know, talking to people about various stages. Um, and what I find more often than not is uh, once we get past the first C, which is clarity, then and people are centered, then they go far fast because they have focus.
Right.
Um,
Now, what I want to know is when am I going to see you on the Discovery Channel? I've been waiting for
um,
this for a long time.
Yeah, so I mean, I have been building a relationship with PBS Nature. They actually reached out to us, Octonation, because they were launching a program called Making Contact, which a scientist brought in an octopus, and they created a documentary around him, like, you know, observing the octopus, and it's, you know, the octopus was observing him, and his daughter was there, and it's a really cool thing. It's called Making Contact. But they reached out to us to promote it, and when we went to promote it to our audience, and we have, I think, 100,000 on our Facebook page, just because we had a highly engaged Facebook page, I think it was seen by over 5 million people.
Wow.
They gave us the video to post on our page. We posted it, and it went viral. And that's just a testament to we had the perfect audience for PBS Nature to be promoting their that show.
Yeah, I'll bet they
And
love you.
yeah, they were just like, wow. And so it just goes to show you, I mean, you can it's not necessarily beat out mainstream media, but if you know how to develop community and you know the skill set on how to do this within a specific niche, I mean, you really are the future, because you know what you're signaling to the world by owning this community is that you know this group of people. And so I
Hey,
think it's just
has any octopus ever been trained
yes.
to do what?
There's
Here,
one
come, sit.
so so octopuses have long term and short term memory, and
Uh-huh.
so they actually can remember how to do certain tasks. And that's why they also, a lot of Aquarius, they have this whole enrichment manual. I think it's like 150 pages, because octopuses, while they live, you know, 3 to 5 years, they get bored really easily if they know how to do something. So if they give them, like, say, something with a piece of food in it and they figure it out, the next time they go to do it, they do it in half the time. The next time they go to do it, I mean, they immediately go for it and they have it.
Wow.
So octopuses in captivity, if you don't keep them engaged, they start doing things like eating their own arms, and
Oh,
you
yikes.
know, and
Yikes.
getting really bored. But I think Sony paid for this campaign. It was called like Octographer, where a octopus learned how to take photos. Like, there's like kids would come in the room, and an octopus would come down off of its like off out of its den. It would go up to the top of the camera, and then it would push the shutter button and take a photo of the kids. And Yeah, it was a really
Oh
funny
my
thing. I'll send
God.
you the video. I'll send
Yeah.
you the video so you can put it in the show
Yeah, we'll put
notes.
it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So your whole, I mean, see, this is what an expert is somebody that lives and breathes what they do. They, like you just described your whole day. But you didn't throw in the part about your two cute little German shepherds.
Yeah, I have two. We have Walt and Lillian, and they make sure that I know to take them out all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, Lillian is one of our newest additions to the family. She is about a year old, and so she's at that phase where she's restless and needs a job at all times. Um, just like, yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So Abby said, "Yeah, that's right, that's right.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, shut him up. I got to go out and pee." Now, did I actually stimulate you two getting the dogs?
Oh, 100%. You're the reason we have two German Shepherds, and the fact that we rescued them
Yeah.
too, because I've always kind of been a person where, like, I like, purebred or like, whatever. But we looked at that German Shepherd rescue page, and we're just like I don't know. We got Walt, and
Yeah.
they really are special dogs. They're incredibly smart. Uh, I remember when we took Walt to training, we did air scenting and air tracking, and I didn't know if the training was working until like one of the last weeks of training, where they're like, okay, let's put this to the test. And I ran out into the field, like maybe like a mile away, and I was like going left and right and trying to like throw him off of my trail. And you let him out of the crate to come find me, and he found me in like less than 20 seconds. And it was just like, and so it was like their noses are like magic. I don't
Yeah.
I don't understand how they work. But yeah, you definitely you
Yeah, because you
seeing
guys are up here, and I saw, was Rubik's around at the time, or we're just
Yeah, definitely Rubik's was around.
Rubik's and
Um,
Abby, and yeah, you guys, didn't even want to talk to me. Yeah, those dogs are around. So, how does somebody work with you? How do they get to work with you?
they can come into, depending on what platform. I typically like to niche down on who I work with. You saw in my about, I like working with purpose-driven brands, and so what that means for me is that your brand has a clearly defined mission and vision. Um, it always helps when you work with somebody who's truly passionate and truly walks the walk, talks the talk. Like, and I think that's why me and you get along so well, is we truly are attracted to practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
So not people that are selling you something, but people that are actually like doing it.
Doing stuff. Yeah.
And I almost sometimes switch between like doing it more, and so I don't teach. And that's when you found somebody that's a really good teacher, when they just love doing so
Right.
much.
Right.
And so you have to have a vision, you have to have a mission, and then typically people will get in touch with me, and I see if it's a fit, only because I'm dealing with Octonation right now, and with tons of other brands. So it's just really on a case by case basis now. And then I have all these. If you're just starting out with community building and you kind of want to get your feet wet with it, we have some courses like Instagram 360 and authority building on Instagram. I have a course that just tells you how to reverse engineer your authority in a marketplace
Mm-hmm.
by clearly choosing a niche, and then how to strategically look in places like with Lindsay, I mentioned earlier on the call. We said, and very similar to like what I did with Octonation, we need to reverse engineer the attention span of somebody who self-identifies as a woman in business who is suffering chronic debilitating migraine, who in the marketplace is signaling to her or providing her with tools, tips, and resources so that she can live a better life. And at the end of the day, we're only interested in talking to these people and figuring out how we can be featured speakers at their convention centers. Who are the people who are micro influencers within the community. We're only interested in knowing them and going after them. And I did the same thing with Octonation, where I was like, okay, I need to reverse engineer the attention span of somebody who self-identifies as an octopus fan. So who's currently serving them? Tonemo, which was the largest news octopus magazine online. Cy Montgomery, the author of Solve an Octopus. What brands are targeting them. I looked at all of them, and then over the course of 6 months, I was heavily obsessed with only making connections with people and letting them know that Octonation existed. And that's really how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the course, the authority building course, kind of goes through and gives you lists and it gives you industries like magazines, blogs, and then you can fill them out, and kind of, you know,
So
do it
what
at
what
your
were the
own
name of
pace.
the two courses?
One of them is Instagram 360, and this is specifically for Instagram. And then authority building on Instagram is another course. But I've had people buy it that just want the authority building roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I might make that a separate thing. But as of right now, it does say uh, authority building on Instagram. But there's tons of people who buy it just for the roadmap on how do you reverse engineer that authority.
Right, right, right. What's your opinion on? I heard scuttlebutt about the taking off the number of likes on Instagram. What's your opinion on that?
I have mixed feelings about it because their purpose, what they're saying, why they're doing it is because they want people to create more, or they don't want to stall people's creative, energies. And I really think I always go back to, okay, where's the money?
Mm-hmm.
And what money could they gain by taking away likes? And so I kind of was thinking about it, and I was like, well, if they created this like back end influencer system, or brands could have access to an influencer's likes by going through, and so they could track the money exchange and things like that, then it would make sense for them to take away likes so that they could keep track of the money that's being exchanged as a result of their platform. And so I kind of have my I mean, that they're not doing that because of that. This is just me being, using Instagram since
Right.
2011. These are my thoughts on it. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's kind of like a mixed bag. But I really feel like it always goes back to money and not so much, wanting to invoke, creative juices from, their users. If you look at TikTok right now, which is higher downloaded right now in the App Store than Instagram, what TikTok is doing is they're artificially, and this is my hypothesis, they're actually artificially increasing vanity metrics like views and likes on posts, because they know that their target demo, which is children, I mean, there's a dopamine hit when you get 500 views or 1,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen on Octonation, we have in the past 2 months, I have over 24,000 followers on TikTok. But I recently went live and was just like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to go live and tons of people are going to be on because I have 22,000 followers. I had less than 10 people join me on live.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is that where Instagram is taking away vanity metrics like likes and things
Uh-huh.
like that, TikTok is increasing them, and so their target demo is going to jump ship from Instagram to TikTok because they're going to want to feel like they're being looked at and that they're being engaged with. And so I think it is a mistake, and it's kind of short-sighted on Instagram's part, to take those metrics away, because people like being liked
Right,
at the end
right.
of the day.
Now, why did you suggest the other day that I should put my protection dog site on there if you say it's a children's demographic?
Well, every social media platform ages up, and you can see that with. I mean, you saw that even with Instagram
Mm-hmm.
when you first started. The joke was, well, is everyone going to take a picture of their sandwich for lunch and post it on Instagram? And then it aged up, right? And then all of a sudden, your mom was on Instagram so she could see what you're doing, and your grandma got on Instagram. And so, with the same thing with TikTok, which is happening, is there's a fast rising as parents want to get on the platform to observe their kids, and then they get stuck because TikTok is
Oh,
addicting.
as soon as you said that, you killed an hour that day for me because
Yeah,
you get
it's
on there and
addicting.
you can't stop.
Yeah, it's super addicting. And so the parents are getting addicted to it, and they're on the platform now,
Okay, all
which
right.
means like they're looking for
You're going to have a
different,
training on it?
yeah, I mean, I think I'll eventually have a training on it. But the reason I suggested you for your dogs is because animals,
Right.
and especially smart animals, and just animals doing extraordinary things, is a niche that always goes viral.
I saw a duck playing the drums the other day. That was pretty good. I saw.
There's a crab that's wielding a knife that went viral. I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
that one.
And
They called him Stabby Crabby.
yeah, and there's a chicken playing the piano and stuff. So,
But you could get your dogs. I mean, even when your dog goes outside and they face outwardly from the door, I mean, that's extraordinary, right? And
Right,
so
right.
there are so many people that were like, that would tag their parents or their kids and say, hey, why don't you teach Toby how
Right.
to do this? So it's just it you know
Yeah, the
makes
age up part is what. Yeah, it's you're kind of right. As I think of it, yeah, that's
it's gonna
what
age up.
happens.
Yeah.
So now where do they go to find this stuff, or are we gonna have it in show notes or
Yeah,
what?
we'll load it up in show notes where
Yeah,
these
he'll
two trainings
have
are.
links in the show notes for you. So and then I'll also take you to where you can get in touch with Warren. So Warren, thanks so much, man. You know what I think of you, man. You just got a brilliant mind and a great work ethic, and you've helped a heck of a lot of people be something that they would have never been without you.
I love doing it.
There you go. All right, everybody. So check out the show notes. This is episode 240. Get on that Instagram stuff. Those 2 courses are there for you. And the one will give you more than just Instagrams. It'll teach you this reverse engineering method, which is so critical to quick success. Because if you try to do like that migraine lady did in the beginning, I mean, God help you. You'll spend months and months and months and spend loads of money and get nowhere. So
And coaches will and coaches and whatever will take your money and tell
exactly.
you have a great idea, and then at the end of the day they'll blame you for not being able to do it because maybe you don't have charisma, maybe you don't have this. It's like it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the niche that you're choosing.
There you go.
So don't beat yourself up if you don't have it right now.
Great advice. Great advice. All right, everybody. We'll catch you all in the next episode. See you later.